dream destinations, exceptional cruises, polar adventures. Welcome to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast that takes you where the journey truly begins. A production of Area Voyages.
For 68 years, the Forbes Travel Guide has handed out its legendary 5-star ratings.
Right, the gold standard.
Exactly. I mean, it is the undisputed, totally uncompromising global authority on what constitutes true luxury.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And for those 68 years, the inspectors for that guide, well, they looked at the ocean. They looked at every single luxury cruise ship ever built by every historic maritime company on Earth.
And they gave them a hard pass.
A complete hard pass. The ceiling was impenetrable. I mean, nobody could break it until February of 2026.
Which was a massive industry shock.
Wild, right? A ship named Ilma finally broke the streak. But here's the wildest part of all of this. The company that pulled this off, they don't even make ships.
No, they really don't. It represents a total structural collapse of the barrier between land-based hospitality and the maritime industry.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're taking this deep dive with us today. Our mission is to unpack a massive, fundamental shift in luxury travel taking place right now in 2026.
Yeah, we've got some fascinating source material today.
We do. We are working through a really comprehensive 2026 guide written by travel and cruise specialist Yvonne Jr. Blanchette. And it details the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection.
It's a fantastic breakdown.
It really is. So, okay, let's unpack this. How did a land-based hotel brand step onto the water and just, immediately beat the legacy cruise lines at their own game?
Well, to understand that, we really have to look past the superficial elements.
Right, the obvious stuff.
Yeah, like the mahogany and the champagne, those are just the end products. What we are really analyzing here is a masterclass in corporate licensing strategy.
Okay, licensing.
Exactly. We are unpacking the behavioral economics of brand loyalty. And perhaps most radically, we're looking at a complete redefinition of maritime architecture.
Which systematically eliminates the compromises people have historically just, accepted when going to sea.
Spot on. People just accepted that being on a boat meant downgrading your hotel experience.
But the genesis of this whole project wasn't some overnight success story, was it?
Oh, not at all, no.
I mean, the ambition was announced way back in June of 2017.
Right, almost a decade ago.
Yeah. The stated goal was to take the exact Ritz-Carlton standard and transplant it onto the water without any dilution. But the execution timeline was brutal.
It was a nightmare, honestly.
The original launch was slated for 2019, but their first ship, Evrima, didn't actually touch the water with guests until 2022.
Right, and the delay mechanics there are fascinating when you look at the supply chain of shipbuilding in the early 2020s.
Because it's not just like building a hotel.
Not even close. Building a mega yacht is not like erecting a hotel in a major city where you have, local access to steel and concrete and labor.
It's way more specialized.
A shipyard is an incredibly fragile ecosystem. You are coordinating custom Italian marble, advanced marine propulsion systems, bespoke German cabinetry.
All during a global pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Navigating a pandemic and unprecedented maritime supply chain blockages. So the sheer friction of getting Evrima built explains a lot about the business model they eventually adopted.
Which brings up the detail from Yvonne's guide that completely stopped me in my tracks.
The ownership structure.
Yes. Ritz-Carlton does not actually own these ships.
No, they don't.
Marriott International, the parent company, does not own them.
Right, and this is the foundational piece of the puzzle. The Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection operates under a licensing agreement.
So it's a separate entity?
Technically, yes.
Right.
It is an independent entity utilizing the branding, the marketing channels, and the operational standards of Ritz-Carlton.
Wait, I have to push back on this immediately.
Sure, go ahead.
If Marriott is just licensing the logo, how is this not a massive dilution of the brand? Doesn't that just mean they outsourced the whole thing and slapped a fancy badge on the hull?
It's a valid question.
I mean, how does a licensing agreement actually force a separate maritime company to operate differently than traditional cruise lines?
Well, it is a critical distinction, and it really comes down to capital expenditure versus operational control.
Okay, break that down for me.
Think about building a fleet of ultra-luxury mega yachts. It requires astronomical capital. We are talking billions of dollars.
Huge risk.
Massive. Marriott is a publicly traded hospitality giant. Their expertise is in land-based service, real estate management, and loyalty programs.
Right.
They are not experts in marine engine maintenance or global port logistics or shipyard labor negotiations.
So the risk profile of owning a shipping fleet would absolutely terrify their
It
shareholders.
would be a non-starter.
Right.
But here is the mechanism that protects the brand. The licensing agreement is architected with draconian oversight regarding the guest experience.
Draconian oversight. I like that phrase.
It's accurate. Marriott insulates itself from the capital risk of the steal, right? But they maintain an absolute stranglehold on the software.
And by software, you mean the human element.
Yes, the service protocols, the staff training, the culinary standards, and the interior design aesthetics.
So the nautical engineers drive the boat, but Ritz-Carlton controls every single interaction the guest has from the moment they step onto the gangway.
Precisely. They separated the nautical from the hospitality.
And clearly, it worked. Because that brings us right back to that 68-year Forbes ceiling.
The Ilma rating.
Yes. When Ilma won the 5-star rating in February 2026, the guide was very specific about why they awarded it. And this is the most powerful opening argument for this brand.
It really is.
They didn't highlight the hull design or the efficiency of the engines. They specifically cited the suite ambassadors.
Because the Forbes rating system is notoriously heavily weighted towards service, not hardware.
That makes sense.
I mean, anyone with enough venture capital can buy Egyptian cotton linens and crystal chandeliers.
Oh, for sure. Just throw money at the decor.
Exactly. But translating Ritz-Carlton's legendary anticipatory service culture into a maritime environment, that is incredibly complex.
So what does that actually look like in practice for a suite ambassador on Ilma?
Well, it requires an intense ratio of staff to guests, for one, and a training regimen that focuses deeply on behavioral observation.
Observation, like
Wait.
watching the guests.
Yeah. In a discreet way, yes. A suite ambassador isn't just making a bed or leaving a chocolate on a pillow.
Right.
They are handling the unpacking of luggage so the guest never even touches a suitcase.
Wow.
And they are studying the guest's preferences in real time, noticing if a guest drinks sparkling water in the morning but still water at night,
Oh, I see.
and then adjusting the suite's inventory before the guest ever has to ask. They are arranging bespoke shore reservations.
So Forbes recognized that human element.
Yes, the hardware was merely the stage. The human software broke the ceiling.
But, you know, the human software still needs the right stage.
Absolutely.
You can have the best suite ambassador in the world, but if you are stuffing your guests into a windowless broom closet next to the engine room, you are getting 5 stars.
No amount of sparkling water fixes that.
Exactly. Which brings us to the architectural philosophy of this fleet, because the physical environment forces a completely different business model here.
It does.
Let's look at the absolute baseline proposition of the entire fleet, the total elimination of the inside cabin.
And to appreciate how radical this is, we have to understand traditional maritime economics.
Right, how mass-market cruise ships actually make money.
Exactly. A standard cruise ship is built around a concept of density and tiered geometry. You have the premium real estate on the outside of the hull.
The cabins with ocean views and balconies.
Yes. But ships are massive, wide structures, so that leaves a vast, dark, windowless interior core.
And historically, cruise lines just pack that core with tiny, cheap cabins.
Right. Those interior cabins are the volume drivers. They subsidize the monumental fixed costs of moving a floating city across an ocean.
Right, they pay for the fuel and the crew.
Fuel, crew, port fees, allowing the cruise line to offer those super low entry-level prices you see in ads.
But the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection threw that entire economic model in the trash.
Completely.
Across all 3 ships, the 2022 Evrima, the 2024 Ilma, and the 2025 Luminara, there is not a single interior cabin.
Not one.
Every guest, regardless of their booking tier, has an ocean view. And it's not just a window, right? Every single suite has a private outdoor terrace.
And removing that dense interior core changes the fundamental physics and economics of the vessel.
How so?
Well, when you eliminate those hundreds of subsidized high-density cabins, the revenue yield per remaining passenger must skyrocket to make the math work.
Oh, so they have to charge a lot more just to break even.
Exactly. This forces the brand into the ultra-luxury pricing tier simply to survive.
Let's look at the actual square footage they managed to carve out.
It's impressive.
On the founding ship, Evrima, the entry-level accommodations are the terrace suites, and these start at roughly 300 square feet of interior space, plus another 54 to 81 square feet of private terrace.
Keep in mind, 300 square feet is the size of a very respectable luxury boutique hotel room in a city like London or New York.
And that is their absolute bottom tier.
Right, and as they iterated the fleet design, they actually increased that baseline.
Oh, they went bigger.
Yeah, on the newer ships, Ilma and Luminara, the entry suites expanded to between 310 and 350 square feet.
And the upper echelons are massive. The owner suite on Ilma is 1,091 square feet with a 635 square foot terrace.
That's larger than many apartments.
Truly. On Ilma and Luminara, they introduced grand suite layouts that can be connected into multi-room compounds reaching 1,076 square feet.
And the amenities across the board match that scale.
Yeah, we're talking fret bathrobes, double vanity bathrooms, in-suite espresso machines, premium minibars.
But Yvonne's guide makes a very specific semantic point about the outside space that I think is crucial.
Oh, about the balconies.
They refuse to call it a balcony. They insist on the term outdoor living space.
Right. Why is that? Is it just marketing jargon?
No, it actually reflects structural engineering.
Okay.
Think about a traditional token balcony on a mass market ship. It's a narrow, shallow strip of metal cantilevered over the side.
Just big enough for 2 plastic chairs.
Exactly. Its function is purely observational. You stand at the rail, look at the water, and go back inside.
Right. You can't actually do anything out there.
But by engineering the hull to allow for deep terraces, Ritz-Carlton transforms that exterior footprint into a functional extension of the suite.
Oh, so the terraces are deep enough to accommodate actual lounge furniture.
Yes, lounge furniture and dining setups. It becomes a private alfresco dining room, or a secluded reading sanctuary.
It's like building an entire skyscraper, where every single apartment is a penthouse corner unit.
That's a great way to put it.
Nobody is stuck looking at a brick wall or an air shaft. And that architectural choice has to radically alter the social psychology of the ship, doesn't it?
It really dismantles the caste system of traditional cruising.
What do you mean by caste system?
Well, on a legacy ship, the physical architecture enforces a social hierarchy. The suite guests have their own exclusive key-carded lounges, their own private pools.
Oh, like a VIP section?
Exactly, their own dedicated restaurants. It is a ship within a ship concept designed to shield the high-paying guests from the crowds in the interior cabins.
But if your absolute baseline is a 300 square foot suite with a private terrace, there is no one to shield them from.
Precisely, it creates a completely homogeneous atmosphere of quiet luxury.
Everyone's a VIP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every single person on board has bought into the exact same premium baseline. It lowers the social temperature.
I can imagine. No fighting over pool chairs.
Exactly. There is no frantic rush for deck chairs at dawn because everyone has a private lounge setup attached to their suite. It transforms the vessel from a floating resort into what feels like a private club.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The physical space provides the privacy. But, eventually you have to leave your suite to eat.
Usually, yes.
And translating a land-based fine dining reputation to a moving vessel has to be a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it's one of the hardest things to do at sea.
So if the architecture solves the hardware problem, how did they solve the software problem of the culinary program?
Well, they adopted an all-inclusive model, but with one very strategic, highly transparent exception.
Because the term all-inclusive is often a minefield in the travel industry, right? It's heavily asterisked with hidden fees.
Oh, absolutely. The classic all-inclusive except for premium liquor, Wi-Fi, and the steakhouse.
Right, but the framework Yvan outlines here is super robust. The standard fare covers all standard dining. Places like the Yarima Room, the Asian Fusion at Talat Nam, and the poolside dining at Mistral.
And it covers 24-hour in-suite dining.
Wow. It covers unlimited Wi-Fi, which I know requires incredibly expensive satellite bandwidth.
It does. And crucially, it covers gratuities for housekeeping, dining, and bar staff.
That's a big deal.
Huge. The psychological relief of removing transactional friction cannot be overstated.
Yeah, the guest never has to sign a receipt or carry cash to tip a bartender.
Exactly.
And the beverage program is shockingly comprehensive. No colored wristbands denoting your drink package tier.
None of that.
Moet Chandon de Champagne, Bombay Sapphire Gin, premium wines, it is all poured freely across the ship.
Which makes the one exception to this model stand out even more.
Right, the exception is SEA.
Yes, SEA.
Which stands for Sven Elverfeld at the Collection.
Right.
It is a 7-course European tasting menu designed by Chef Sven Elverfeld, who holds 3 Michelin stars at his land-based restaurant, Aqua, at the Ritz-Carlton in Wolfsburg, Germany.
That's the one.
And this is the only restaurant in the entire fleet that carries a supplemental charge.
And what's fascinating here is the economic reality of maintaining Michelin-level gastronomy at sea.
Because it's not like running a normal kitchen.
Not at all. Let's look at the mechanics of a 3-star tasting menu. It relies on a hyper-specific, highly sensitive supply chain of perishable ingredients.
Sure.
You are sourcing incredibly rare truffles, specific cuts of Wagyu, delicate seafood.
And you have to get it to a moving target.
Exactly. Coordinating that cold chain logistics network so that the ingredients arrive flawlessly at a ship moving through the Mediterranean or the Caribbean is staggeringly expensive.
I hear that, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the upcharge, though.
Okay, play devil's advocate.
If I am already paying an astronomical ultra-luxury premium just to step foot on the yacht, shouldn't the Michelin-starred chef be part of the ticket?
It's a fair point.
Does charging a supplement undermine the integrity of the all-inclusive label?
It can be a friction point for some consumers, but consider the alternative pricing geometry.
Okay.
A 3-Michelin-star service requires an intense culinary staff-to-guest ratio. The kitchen plating a delicate 7-course tasting menu operates entirely differently than a kitchen executing a la carte poolside dining.
Right, it's way more labor-intensive.
Yes. So if Ritz-Carlton rolled the cost of SEA into the base fare, they would have to significantly raise the ticket price for every single guest on board just to subsidize that operational cost.
Oh. And I guess not every guest actually wants a 3-hour, highly formalized 7-course tasting menu on their vacation.
Exactly. Sometimes you just want a great burger by the pool.
Right.
So by isolating SEA as the sole upcharge, they achieve strategic transparency.
I see.
They are essentially saying, look, the absolute pinnacle of luxury dining is included in your fare. But this hyper-specific, deeply complex gastronomic event is a separate curation.
It prevents the feeling of being nickel and dimed by a dozen different specialty restaurants, which is super common on legacy lines.
Exactly. It's honest.
And they apply that same philosophy to the land experiences too, don't they?
They do.
Yvonne's guide points out that shore excursions are categorically not included in the fare, which differs from some ultra-luxury competitors who just bundle every walking tour into the price.
Yes, and that is an intentional filter based on their target demographic.
Because bundled tours usually mean buses.
Right. Bundled shore excursions generally rely on the economics of the motor coach. You need 30 or 40 people on a bus to make the inclusion financially viable for the cruise line.
And the Ritz-Carlton demographic fundamentally rejects the motor coach experience.
Completely. They want no part of it.
They want the concierge ashore to set up a private, bespoke experience, like a private cooking class in a Tuscan villa, or a secluded beach setup in Ibiza or Saint-Tropez.
Correct. Unbundling the excursions gives the guest the financial and psychological freedom to curate their own land experience.
Without feeling like they are leaving money on the table by skipping the included group tour.
Exactly. You only pay for what you curate.
So if they are intentionally unbundling certain aspects and charging a supplement for the marquee restaurant, how do they convince their core demographic to accept this pricing structure?
Well, because they're playing a completely different financial game.
Right. Let's look at the integration of Marriott Bonvoy.
Oh, this is the masterstroke.
Because this is where the business strategy goes from merely clever to an absolute marvel of behavioral economics.
Truly, the loyalty program integration is the gravitational force holding this entire enterprise together.
How so?
Before 2022, if you were a top-tier hotel loyalist, someone who accrued millions of points through hundreds of nights of corporate travel or heavy spend on a co-branded credit card.
Right, the road warriors.
Yeah. Your redemption options were strictly terrestrial.
You could book a suite in Paris or a resort in the Maldives.
Exactly. But you could not use those points to access the ultra-luxury maritime market.
Until now.
Ritz-Carlton changed the math entirely. The earn mechanics are incredibly aggressive. Guests earn 5 Bonvoy points for every single dollar spent on the cruise fare.
5 points per dollar. And when you were talking about ultra-luxury yacht pricing, those points accumulate at a staggering velocity.
Oh yeah, you're earning massive chunks of points. And the burn mechanics, the redemption side, provide a highly tangible value proposition.
Yvonne breaks down the math on this. Right?
He does. 180,000 points equates to $1,000 in direct savings on the cruise fare.
Okay.
And every subsequent 90,000 points shaves off another $500.
But as any points maximizer knows, the points are only half the addiction.
Oh, it's all about status.
Right. It's the elite status that truly drives behavior. Every single night you spend on these yachts counts as an elite night credit toward your Bonvoy tier status.
And the total spend counts toward the financial thresholds required for Ambassador Elite, which is Marriott's highest published tier.
Wow.
We need to analyze the specific psychology of the Ambassador Elite member here.
Let's do it. Who is this person?
This is a demographic that values seamlessness and recognition above almost all else. They are accustomed to a specific operational rhythm.
Like they want things to just work.
Right. They arrive at a property, their status is recognized, their preferences are anticipated, and the friction of travel is erased.
They know exactly what they're getting.
Exactly. By wiring the yachts into the Bonvoy mainframe, Marriott created a closed-loop ecosystem. The loyalist never has to step outside the brand's protective bubble.
And the data proves this strategy is working. According to Yvonne's guide, approximately half of all guests on the founding ship, Ilma, were first-time cruisers.
Half.
50%.
In the context of the broader maritime industry, that statistic is almost unbelievable.
Really? Why is that?
Because converting a terrestrial luxury traveler into a maritime traveler is universally considered the highest barrier to entry in the business.
I mean, I know people who will happily drop $20,000 on a private villa in Maui.
Sure.
But if you suggest a week on a luxury ship, they physically recoil. Why is that barrier so high?
It is the baggage of the industry's own legacy.
Ah, mass market cruising.
Yes. Decades of mass market cruise advertising have cemented a specific image in the public consciousness. Crowded buffets, forced socializing, rigid schedules.
Announcements on the loudspeaker every 5 minutes.
Exactly. A distinct lack of sophistication. The affluent traveler views traditional cruising as a loss of autonomy.
So Ritz-Carlton acts as the ultimate psychological safety net for them.
It is a brilliant branding maneuver. Notice they strip away the word cruise entirely.
Right. It's a yacht collection.
Exactly. It's a yacht. The aesthetic mirrors the contemporary, quiet luxury of their favorite land-based hotels.
And crucially, they are allowed to use the currency they already possess, their Bonvoy points, to test the waters.
It lowers the risk of trying something new.
It is a gateway drug for the luxury traveler.
It really is.
You lure the I don't do boats executive on board by making it look exactly like the Ritz-Carlton they frequent in Geneva or Tokyo.
You let them subsidize it with corporate points.
Right, and suddenly they step off the gangway, realizing they are now a quote-unquote cruise person.
And once that conversion happens, the brand captures a lifetime of maritime leisure spend that previously would have gone to a terrestrial resort.
Okay, so we have these first-time cruisers safely aboard. They are checking their Bonvoy apps. They are enjoying the all-terrace architecture.
Having a great time.
What exactly is the hardware they are sailing on? Because as the fleet expanded, they didn't just photocopy the blueprints.
No, the fleet evolves.
The 3 ships in the 2026 fleet represent an intentional evolution in scale and capability. Let's look at the fleet personalities and what the brand calls the marina lifestyle.
The progression of the fleet architecture tells a really interesting story of operational learning and the pursuit of economies of scale.
So we have the founding ship of Ilma, which launched in 2022.
Right.
She is the most intimate vessel in the fleet, carrying just 298 guests in 149 suites. She is 624 feet long, maintaining a very tight crew-to-guest ratio of roughly 1 to 1.2.
Ilma functions as the purest distillation of the private mega yacht concept.
She's the boutique option.
Yes. Her smaller displacement allows her to slip into incredibly tight, secluded anchorages that larger ships simply cannot access.
But then we get to Ilma, the 2024 flagship, and the ship that secured the Forbes 5-star rating.
Ilma is a massive step up in size.
Yeah, she is 791 feet long, carrying 448 guests in 224 suites.
And the newest ship, the 2025 Luminara, mirrors that larger scale, carrying 452 guests at 790 feet.
And both of the newer ships also shift to LNG power.
Yes, liquefied natural gas.
But I need you to clarify something here. In the realm of ultra-luxury, isn't the primary goal almost always exclusivity?
Usually, yes.
So why would they jump from 298 guests to around 450 guests? Doesn't scaling up dilute that intimate yacht atmosphere they spent so much money trying to cultivate?
It's a calculated trade-off. It's a balance between absolute intimacy and amenity bandwidth.
Amenity bandwidth. I like that.
Well, think about it. A 300-guest ship like Ilma offers incredible exclusivity. But the physical constraints of the hull limit the variety of public spaces and dining venues you can physically fit on board.
There's only so much room for restaurants.
Exactly. By scaling up to 450 guests on Ilma and Luminara, they unlock the spatial geometry required to dramatically expand the culinary program.
Ah, so that larger footprint is how they were able to bring in partnerships with high-profile chefs like Fabio Trabacchi and Michael Mina on the newer ships.
Precisely. They gain the square footage for more diverse lounges, larger spa facilities, and expanded deck spaces.
Like the 64 private cabanas around the main pools on Ilma.
Right. Furthermore, the increased scale accommodates the engineering requirements for those LNG propulsion systems.
How does LNG actually change the guest experience? I mean, I know it's a cleaner fuel, but does the guest actually notice the difference when they're sitting by the pool?
Oh, they notice the absence of what usually plagues older ships.
Which is?
Vibration and noise. Yes, LNG combustion is significantly cleaner than traditional heavy marine fuel oil. It drastically reduces particulate emissions and sulfur output.
That's great for the environment.
It is. But from a guest comfort perspective, the massive advantage is the reduction in engine vibration and acoustic resonance.
Oh, so it's quieter.
Much quieter. The propulsion systems run smoother, meaning the ambient hum that traditionally vibrates through the steel hull into the suites is heavily mitigated.
It quite literally makes the ship sleep more like a land-based hotel.
Exactly. You don't have that constant rattling.
And environmentally, that cleaner emissions profile is what allows a ship like Luminara to operate in highly regulated, ecologically sensitive zones.
Right, like Alaska.
Yes. In 2026, Luminara took the brand to Alaska for the first time, offering 13 voyages navigating the pristine environments of Valdez and the Hubbard Glacier.
Which is a huge expansion for them.
But whether you are in Alaska or the Mediterranean, the defining hardware feature of this fleet, the piece of engineering that truly cements the yacht identity, is the marina platform.
Oh, the marina is a total marvel of maritime engineering.
It really is.
It transforms the stern of the vessel from a closed structural wall into an interactive environment.
It is a massive, retractable deck at the very back of the ship.
Right.
When the yacht drops anchor, the hydraulic systems deploy this deck, lowering it until it sits precisely at sea level.
It essentially creates a private floating beach club attached directly to the hull.
And on the larger ships, Ilma and Luminara, they actually expanded this concept into a mezzanine marina.
Yeah, creating tiered lounge spaces cascading down to the water.
We must consider the dynamic positioning technology required to make that safe, though.
Oh, the engineering's wild. The ship's thrusters and GPS systems are constantly making micro adjustments to hold the vessel perfectly stationary against oceanic currents and wind shear.
Because if the ship drifts or rolls excessively, that sea-level platform becomes super dangerous and unusable.
Exactly. The engineering ensures a stable launch pad for the water sports program.
Which is fully included in the all-inclusive fare.
Yes, no rental fees.
You can just walk down the stairs from your suite, step onto the marina, and the crew will hand you paddle boards, kayaks, sea bobs, or electric foiling boards.
And that whole setup fundamentally changes the relationship between the guest and the ocean.
How so?
Well, it redefines the purpose of the vessel. In traditional cruising, the ship is primarily a vehicle of transit.
Right, a floating hotel designed to transport you from port A to port B.
Exactly. But with the deployment of the marina platform, the ship ceases to be merely a vehicle. It becomes the destination itself.
The ocean is no longer just scenery passing by a window.
It is an active playground physically connected to the ship.
And when they do decide to pull up the marina and move to a port, their routing strategy is entirely different from the mass market lines.
Oh, it has to be.
Because even at 450 guests, Ilma and Luminara are tiny compared to the 5,000 passenger behemoths operated by legacy brands.
And that boutique scale provides access to harbors where larger ships are physically and legally barred from entering.
They are not docking at the massive industrial cruise terminals in major shipping hubs.
No, they're dropping anchor in the caldera of Naxos in Greece.
Or the glamorous harbor of Saint-Tropez in France.
And crucially, they emphasize overnight stays.
Because there is nothing less luxurious than the frantic one-day port rush where you were terrified of missing the boat and being left on the dock.
Exactly. The running for the ship anxiety. Ritz-Carlton designs the itineraries so the ship stays in port overnight.
So you can have a leisurely dinner in town, experience the local nightlife, and just walk back to the yacht at midnight.
Yes. And you get to do all of this in an environment governed by a yacht casual or yacht sophisticated dress code.
No tuxedos required.
The aesthetic is modern, quiet luxury. The era of the mandated tuxedo and the formal captain's dinner is completely absent here.
It appeals to an executive demographic that equates true luxury with the freedom to be comfortable.
Absolutely. True luxury is not wearing a tie if you don't want to.
So we have a clear picture of the Ritz-Carlton machine now. The Forbes level service, the all-terrace architecture, the transparent pricing, the Bonvoy loyalty loop, and the marina lifestyle.
It's a very complete package.
But as they expand this fleet, they've officially entered the deep waters of the ultra-luxury market.
And it is fiercely competitive.
They were not sailing in a vacuum. If you are a traveler looking at this tier of the market in 2026, you really need to understand the competitive landscape.
We have to map it out.
Let's do the grueling comparison. Where exactly does Ritz-Carlton sit on the chessboard against the titans of the industry?
Well, if we look at the broader ecosystem, we are witnessing a hyper-segmentation of the ultra-luxury maritime market right now.
Hyper-segmentation.
Yeah, each brand is carving out an incredibly specific psychological and operational niche.
Let's start with the baseline we just established. According to Yvonne's analysis, the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection is optimized for brand familiarity, the seamless integration of Marriott Bonvoy points, and the intimate hotel-at-sea ambiance validated by the Forbes rating.
Right, that's their lane.
But if we pivot and look at Seabourn, we are looking at a fundamentally different heritage.
Seabourn is a foundational pillar of ultra-luxury cruising.
They've been around forever.
They have 40 years of operational history, founded back in 1986. They have an institutional knowledge of maritime logistics that is, frankly, unparalleled.
Their ships range from an intimate 264 guests up to about 600 guests.
And Seabourn brings some heavy, highly specialized artillery to the fight.
Oh, the expedition stuff.
Yes. They have a massive, deeply integrated expedition program. We are talking about actual multi-million-dollar submarines launched from the ship to explore the ocean floor.
Submarines. That is wild.
It's incredible. And from a culinary perspective, Seabourn has a long-standing partnership with Chef Thomas Keller.
But, unlike Ritz-Carlton's SCA restaurant, the Thomas Keller dining experience on Seabourn is fully included in the base fare, without any supplemental upcharge.
Exactly. So the Seabourn loyalist values maritime heritage and deep expedition capability.
They want the submarine in Antarctica.
Yes. And they want the legacy cruise experience refined to its absolute pinnacle. Then we have a newer entrant, Explora Journeys, which launched to directly challenge this space.
Explora's positioning feels remarkably similar to Ritz-Carlton on the surface, doesn't it?
It does. They utilize that same contemporary European hotel aesthetic.
But they operate on a slightly larger scale, carrying roughly 922 guests.
And that increased scale allows Explora to offer an immense focus on wellness.
Including massive thermal suites that are totally complimentary for guests to access.
Right. And an impressive array of 9 distinct restaurants.
9 restaurants for 900 guests is a lot.
It is. However, Explora fundamentally lacks the gravitational pull of a 100 million member hotel loyalty program like Bonvoy.
Right. They have to acquire their guests through traditional marketing and travel advisor networks.
Whereas Ritz-Carlton can simply tap into the Marriott database.
Then you have Silversea, which even highlights as the absolute apex predator for deep expedition range and remote polar destinations.
If you want to see penguins in ultra-luxury, Silversea is the standard.
But the competitor that truly shakes up the geometry of this market is Four Seasons Yachts.
Oh, Four Seasons. They represent the escalation of the hotel-at-sea concept to its logical, albeit extreme, conclusion.
Four Seasons launched their yacht in 2025, and they essentially took the Ritz-Carlton playbook and supersized the physical hardware.
In a massive way.
The Four Seasons yacht has only 95 suites in total.
Let that sink in. 95.
And the entry-level suite, the absolute smallest room you can buy on that vessel, starts at a staggering 473 square feet.
Which completely dwarfs a 300 square foot baseline on Ilma.
It's huge. Furthermore, Four Seasons operates with absolutely zero cover charges for any of their marquee dining venues.
None at all. So,
looking at the pure math of space and inclusions, does Ritz-Carlton run the risk of becoming the quote-unquote budget option in the ultra-luxury tier?
Well, the word budget implies a compromise in quality.
Which they obviously don't have.
Right, which the Forbes 5-star rating definitively proves is not the case for Ritz-Carlton.
Because that's a better term.
The more accurate term is targeted accessibility.
Targeted accessibility.
Yes. We have to analyze the specific psychographics of the target consumer for each brand. Four Seasons is building nearly 500 square foot entry suites to capture the absolute zenith of the 1%.
The traveler for whom price elasticity simply does not exist.
The billionaire demographic, precisely.
Right.
Seabourn and Silversea are targeting the affluent maritime purist who prioritizes expedition range and the heritage of the sea.
So where does that leave Ritz-Carlton?
Ritz-Carlton has triangulated a massive, highly lucrative middle ground. They're aiming squarely at the affluent corporate executive and the points-wealthy hotel loyalist.
This consumer values the operational consistency of a brand they already trust.
Yes. They relish the financial game of redeeming Bonvoy points.
And they prefer the social intimacy of a 400-guest yacht over a massive luxury liner.
Exactly. Ritz-Carlton isn't trying to build submarines. And they aren't trying to build 500 square foot entry-level suites.
They built a perfectly calibrated machine for their specific customer.
And they executed it flawlessly enough to break a 68-year ceiling.
We have covered a massive amount of nautical miles today.
We really have.
To synthesize this deep dive for you, we explored the corporate mechanics of a licensing agreement that allowed a hotel giant to conquer the ocean without the capital risk of buying a shipyard.
We unpacked the structural physics and social psychology of the uncompromising all-terrace architecture.
We navigated the transparent cold chain logistics of the Michelin-starred SEA restaurant.
We calculated the behavioral economics of the Bonvoy points loop that is actively converting terrestrial loyalists into maritime travelers.
And we mapped exactly where this fleet sits on the chessboard against heavyweights like Seabourn and Four Seasons.
It really requires a complete recalibration of how the industry models luxury expansion.
It truly does. I am still completely fixated on the engineering of that marina platform, honestly.
It's the best part.
I can absolutely picture myself walking down the stairs of Ilma, grabbing an electric foiling board, and launching straight into the Mediterranean.
I'm sure you'd be great at it.
Well, even if I do immediately lose my balance and wipe out in front of a Forbes 5-star suite ambassador, the sheer novelty of a floating beach club is incredible.
I will gladly observe your attempts on the foiling board from a safe distance.
Oh, thanks for the support.
You will find me utilizing the structural stability of the Ilma hull to enjoy a remarkably still glass of vintage champagne in the wine vault.
Naturally.
Taking full advantage of the quiet acoustic profile of those LNG engines during an overnight stay in Saint-Tropez.
I think we can both agree that either option sounds like a profound upgrade from the mass market cruise experience.
Oh, infinitely better.
Before we sign off, what is one final provocative concept you want to leave our listeners with? Something to mull over as they map out their own travel trajectories.
Well, I have been analyzing the long-term macroeconomic implications of this cross-pollination.
Okay, let's hear it.
The Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection successfully proved that a terrestrial hospitality brand can colonize the ocean, leveraging their massive loyalty databases to bypass the traditional hurdles of maritime customer acquisition.
Right.
But this creates a dangerous new expectation.
Dangerous for who?
For the cruise lines. As this loyalty points model trains an entire generation of affluent travelers to expect their terrestrial hotel status to unlock seamless, ultra-luxury maritime experiences, how long will it be before the legacy cruise lines realize their standalone business models are fundamentally vulnerable?
Oh, wow.
Will we see a future where legacy maritime giants like Royal Caribbean or Carnival are forced into reverse colonization?
Wait, reverse colonization?
Yes. Will they have to start aggressively acquiring land-based boutique hotel chains just to arm themselves with enough terrestrial real estate to compete in the global loyalty wars?
That is a crazy thought.
The ultimate battleground for the future of the cruise industry might actually be fought on the shore.
Reverse colonization. The legacy cruise ships storming the beaches to buy up the hotels. That is an incredibly fascinating strategic thought to end on.
It's something to watch out for.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. It is a wildly exciting era to be an observer and a participant in the travel industry.
He really is.
I encourage you to keep questioning the boundaries of the market and exploring the changing tides of luxury. Remember that impenetrable fortress we talked about at the beginning?
The Forbes rating.
Yeah, that invisible wall between the land and the sea that stood undefeated for 68 years. Well, Ritz-Carlton didn't just pick the lock.
No, they didn't.
They engineered a way to take the door entirely off its hinges, and the ocean will never be the same. See you next time.
You've been listening to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast by Area Voyages. The full article for this episode is available at www.areavoyages.com. Remember to like, share the podcast, and leave a review to help promote our work. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Until next time, safe travels.